Hi everybody, today I wanted to come back and share a video with you guys which is basically going to be our journey to homeschooling, why we homeschool, etc. A lot of you guys ask me questions like that, which I briefly addressed in the Q&A but said I would elaborate further at a different time, and that time is now. I was public schooled most of the time with a brief spurt of private school about 1 year. My husband was homeschooled most of the time with a brief spurt of private school, also about 1 year. And neither of us ever planned to homeschool. In fact, we both strongly agreed before we started having children that we would definitely not be homeschooling. So why are we then? Well, it all started a couple of years ago when Evelyn was very advanced in her desire to learn and showed very good advanced cognitive ability to learn and do things academically and wanted to. She wanted to learn stuff, and she was barely 2 years old, and we decided we couldn't stunt her, and we decided to go ahead and start teaching her basics like most parents do. I think at home most parents try to teach their kids their alphabet and their numbers and stuff like that. So we just started doing that kind of stuff with her, and she blew through it. She excelled really well, and she was just having such a desire to learn and move forward with this stuff. So then we found some kindergarten readiness things and we started focusing on that. Well, when we completed all of our kindergarten readiness stuff, she still had over 2 years before she would be allowed to go to kindergarten in the public school setting. During that time, we had kind of been realizing what was going on with her and that she was advanced, and kind of seeing what we were going to do with that, because we always want our children to have the best opportunities possible. So we were looking into homeschooling a little bit. I didn't know a thing about homeschooling ever in my life. I had never been around it. I never knew anyone who was homeschooled, really. I just didn't know anything about it. And my husband was homeschooling, but he wasn't necessarily happy with his experience at the time. He wasn't looking at all the aspects. He was just looking at a couple of things that he wished he could have changed. And so we really weren't for it. But then all of a sudden our daughter starts showing these signs and we can't send her to school. Our plans to public school were out the window. No place that was going to accept a 3-year-old into kindergarten. It's just not going to happen. Well, during the preschooling or the kindergarten readiness, I was spending a lot of time with her and teaching her and putting pieces and curriculums together and using a lot of my skills that I had learned in early childhood education college classes. So I started to gain a lot of confidence in my ability to school my own children. Before, I was like, there's no way I would have the patience, the time, the desire to homeschool my kids. No way. But all of a sudden here I was doing it, and it was going really well. So I kind of gained that confidence to say, you know what, this is my child and I can homeschool my own kid. Who better to teach my child than me? We started looking into all the benefits and exploring the benefits further. Instead of looking at maybe our concerns, we were looking at the benefits, which was that most homeschool children do have higher test scores. A lot of homeschool children have a really good work ethic because they school less and work more, help with chores around the house, or they get jobs as young teenagers. They are taught a good work ethic. We'll see better relationships with family because they have more time to spend with that family, and family is a larger priority in a lot of homeschool situations. There is the benefit of the flexible schedule. You don't have to plan your vacations around when the public school is out. You can go whenever you want. Or if somebody's sick, it's no big deal to make up a day. If you want to watch movies that day, you don't want to do school, you don't have to. You can do it some other time. If your child flies through school fast and you want to move on to the next grade, you can. If your child is struggling in an area and you need to stick with it, you can. which means you can also choose your pace, which that is really what first got us into it, was we needed to be able to choose Evelyn's pace. We could not hold her back for 2 more years, not advancing any further. It just wasn't going to work out. With all of the benefits, there still were concerns, of course. Our biggest number one concerns when we originally didn't want to homeschool was social skills and opportunities, friendships, stuff like that, and sports, music, and other elective opportunities. We really didn't want our children to not be able to have good lifelong close friends. We didn't want them to lack social skills and talking to friends, making friends, or be sheltered at home all the time and not have any social life whatsoever. We also didn't want our kids to miss out on extracurricular activities, and one awesome benefit of public school is that, especially depending on if you're in a bigger district, there's a wide variety of extracurriculars, and your children can do anything from woodshop to welding to drama and theater to music to sports. There's just so much, and I liked that about my public school. We could never afford the sports, but we did a lot of other extracurriculars that I really enjoyed. Those concerns were all laid to rest when we did a little more research and we went to our first homeschool conference. Went to the homeschool conference and we found all of this extracurricular stuff that we didn't know anything about. Anything at all your children does in public school, they can do with a homeschool group, and more things I had never heard of. It is just amazing, all the things they can do. They have robotics clubs for homeschoolers that are like 7 years old. Seriously, I've never heard of that before, and there's just so many opportunities, and it's great, and you can still build that community, which also takes away the social aspects. If you're doing co-ops or if you're involving your children in different things, they are being around other kids their age. They are learning those social skills. Not just being around kids their age, they're being around kids older and younger. More of a peer setting. Think about it. When you go to work as an adult, are you working with 30 other people who are all 24? No, you're not. You're working with people older, younger, different life situations, all of that. And that is how our homeschool children get to start learning and interacting with people of all age groups everywhere they go. They're not just with their own age. We just have so much social stuff going on all the time. In fact, we have to usually schedule our time as just a family because we have so much social things going on. So all those concerns were pretty well laid to rest. So we dug further and further into homeschooling and learning all the benefits and all the things that we could do with it. We just really fell in love with the idea, and the more we learned, the less we wanted to do anything else. There is the Brainy Bunch that someone recommended to us to read about, and all of their kids graduated at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, something around there, and started college, and they have great degrees and jobs at very young ages, and that is so awesome. And it did make me think a little bit of my daughter because she is advanced. I don't know that she'll be that far ahead or anything, but she's advanced, and we want her to be able to excel where she is naturally gifted and talented and go for it. We want her to be able to spend time on her natural gifts, and yes, she has to learn all the basic stuff too, but we can really let those areas develop where she is most talented and gifted at. As time went on and we were digging deeper into our faith all at the same time, we just felt this strong calling that we are supposed to teach our children about life. And in public school there is a lot of things that were ingrained into us that you don't even realize that your kids are learning. Just a very secular worldview ingrained into your kids. And that's not the worst thing ever, but some things parents don't even realize are being taught. And it's one thing if you know it's being taught and you can talk to your kids when they get home about it, and it's another thing for it to just be taught under you and not even know. And now your kid has these ideas in their head that you didn't put there and God didn't put there, and where did they come from? So we just started feeling more and more of a calling to keep our kids home and actually teach them more about God and focus more on God and be able to choose our curriculums and shape their worldview in a more godly manner. Now, a lot of homeschool parents do homeschool for religious reasons. That was not our first reason. That is not the reason we originally started to. But once homeschooling was on the table, it was just another huge benefit that we could have that time as a family, build our family bonds even stronger, and also build their foundation of faith even stronger by having them home more. Things that kind of played into it, not hugely, but a little bit, is there's a lot of scary stuff going on in schools now. There's kids getting sexually assaulted in school. There's shootings in schools. There's, teachers being hateful to your children in school sometimes. There's other kids that are bullying, and there's suicides that happen because of bullying in school. And all kinds of issues go on in the public school. And I know there's a lot of great schools, and there's a lot of great teachers, and there's a lot of great students, but there is a lot of really fallen, shady stuff going on, and it's just our broken world. And yes, our children are going to be a part of this world at some point, but we do like the idea of keeping that innocence and not having them thrown into all of that craziness at such a young, vulnerable age. All of these reasons being said, obviously for us, homeschooling is the best option in our minds and hearts now. That doesn't mean that we would never, ever, ever, ever send our children to private school or send our children to public school by any means. I was public school. I had a lot of great things from it. I loved school. I really did. But that just doesn't seem like it's in the cards for our family at the moment. Now, my boys are different than my daughter. I want to homeschool all of my children. That is my heart. I want to have the time with them. I want to be able to teach them the way I want. I want them to be able to be flexible in our schedule and all of that. But, as a mom, if we are homeschooling and it ever comes to the point where, this might not be the best for our family, I am not too prideful to put it aside and say, okay, no more. If it comes to a point even where Evelyn is doing great and she needs to stay homeschooled, but maybe Josiah is struggling and could use some of the benefits from public school, then we would certainly consider that and send him if we need to. So we do love homeschooling, and for us, all the options and benefits have just been evident, and now our why as to why we're homeschooling, it's not just one reason. There's several. There's a lot of reasons, and we really just love the idea, and we love what we've done with it, and we love the possibilities of homeschooling, but that does not mean that it couldn't change. And obviously, we never planned to homeschool in the first place, and that changed. And now we aren't planning to public school anymore, but it could always change. So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where our convictions are. We really are hoping and praying that we can homeschool and do a great job at it and do it all the way through for all of our kids. But of course, we are going to be flexible and do what's right for our kids, even if it isn't what we would perfectly dream and imagine for. So I hope this kind of answers some of your guys' questions about why we chose to homeschool, why we had changed our minds on the idea, and all of that. And I will just leave it at that. If you guys have any more questions, you may ask them below, and I will see you in our next video. Bye!